What's going on, everybody? It's Ricky with Videohomicide. Welcome back to another movie review / recommendation. Today we're going to go back to the year 1979, the year of Zombie, the year of the Warriors, and it was also the year of Don Coscarelli's Phantasm. Holy fuck. Before I talk about Phantasm, I have to say that I first, discovered the Phantasm series through this, it was actually the VHS tape, but Boogeyman, which was a compilation of a bunch of clips from, franchisey stuff, Pinhead, of course. I had known about most of these guys, except for, I think Wishmaster, The Guardian, The Dentist, a few others I didn't really know about, but for the most part, it's pretty much, your Chucky, Jason, Leatherface, that kind of stuff. The classics. So there was that clip from Phantasm, and I was like, what the fuck is Phantasm? Even the name alone was pretty creepy, but this wasn't a flick that I probably watched till about 2013, I think was probably the first time that I seen it. This is the remastered Phantasm, so I don't know the difference between this and previous releases of the film. This is a DVD, obviously. I know it's probably been released on fucking 4K 20 times by now, but this is fine for me. Interestingly enough, this movie's on Tubi. They're all on Tubi except for Part 2 for some reason, and it turns out that I only have Part 1 and Part 2. I've actually never watched Part 2, so, or if I have, it would have been on, I have a fucking really cheesy, there it is. This is Phantasm's Part 1 through 4, bootleg as fuck, and I must have at least watched the first 2 back then when I made these, or when I came across those bootlegs. But anyways, Phantasm, fantastic horror film. Basically, what's happening in this, at the beginning of the film, this guy's getting laid in a graveyard, and he ends up finishing, and then the girl ends up stabbing his ass, and the girl ends up being this entity, the tall man, who is the guy that runs the funeral home. So this guy gets killed during sex or after sex, and then his funeral happens, and basically this guy's I don't know if he's the older brother or close buddy of our main character's older brother. So they attend the funeral. The little brother does not attend the funeral, which I thought was kind of strange. But it turns out that they had just lost their parents a couple of months or a year before. So I could kind of understand him being traumatized by funerals. But the little boy ends up kind of creeping around the funeral home, and he witnesses this tall man, this funeral home guy, lift up a casket and just shove it in the back of a hearse. And when he goes and tells his older brother about that, he's like, no, that's bullshit. Because he was one of the pallbearers. He was like, no, that thing was 500 pounds at least. So he kind of dismisses him. There's a lot of the older brother dismissing this guy until the kid ends up going back to this funeral home, and he gets into a confrontation with this dude who ends up getting sphered in the head. So the sphere is sort of the weapon of choice of this tall man. It's this silver ball that has these spike things sticking out, and it fucking sucks your blood out. It's heavy duty, crazy fucking scene right there. But he ends up cutting one of the tall man's fingers off and bringing it home, and he keeps it in this little contraption, and they kind of have their City of the Living Dead moment. What I mean by that is when, the one guy says to Christopher George, this is a long story, and then the next scene is well, that's the whole story. So that version in Phantasm is the kid opens the box, shows the big brother the finger that's moving, and he goes, okay, I believe you. But then he goes on to not believe him for other shit in a way, and it's and he never questions anything, which, don't get me wrong, I fucking love this movie. I think it's fantastic, but he keeps doing the exact opposite of what he should be doing. He's like, all right, you stay here, I'm gonna go do this. But it always works out in their favor one way or another. The main character, I forget what the kid's name is. I think it's Michael, but he's a 16-year-old kid that is very crafty, because there's a part where I forget how he got the shotgun shell. I think it's because he was loading a shotgun. He gets locked in a room, so he takes a shotgun shell, a thumbtack, and a hammer and some tape, and he fucking gets out of the locked room, which is crafty as fuck. I thought that's a really cool scene. There's some good moments in here that I can think of, out of the blue, the older brother and the buddy who's this ice cream fucking salesman. Out of the blue, they just start playing guitars, and it's a good little tune. Thought that was awesome. This tall man employs the help of these little Jawa looking creatures from the Star Wars universe. And basically what they find out that those Jawas are victims or bodies from the graveyard that are compressed and like morphed and changed around and sent to this like weird other dimension to be slaves. You know, I think one of the scenes that's really fucking cool in this movie is when they're going through the mausoleum, like with all the graves and stuff, like indoors, and they open that door and it's just like all those big like 45-gallon drums, and like, you know what's in there. I fucking thought it was so cool. There's a scene in this movie that I thought was hilarious when our main character, the kid, is working on the car. He's underneath the car, and these Jawa things, like, they fuck with the jack and it drops down on him, and he's got this hammer and he's like trying to swing. He ends up hitting his brother's toes, but the fucking kid says to the brother, he's like, someone was messing around here, blah blah blah, and the older brother says, you sure it wasn't that retarded kid up the street, Timmy? And I just started laughing my balls off, man, because it's so funny to think that you know. And that's nothing. Like, if you want to be offended by language in a film, do yourself a favor, watch Fight for Your Life. Okay, if you're easily offended, that's one for the fucking ages. But I had a lot of fun with this movie. I'm looking forward to watching the rest in the series. I've heard that Ravager, which I think is part 5, isn't the greatest, but I still want to check out. I'm going to watch them until they completely suck or I get to the end. You know what I mean? Halloween is Among Us, and before I get off topic of the film, a couple more things that I really liked about it. Some scenes. I love the end scene with the kid getting taken away by all the hands and stuff. Sort of like what happens to Nancy's mom at the end of Nightmare, only like way fucking cooler. And that happens a few times, like with the hands coming out of the ground, and there's that really cool shot where he's like, the tall man like appears behind him. Like, really excellent stuff. Check it out. Phantasm is fantastic. So, but with Halloween right around the corner, like, I'm not going to be doing a 31 days of horror thing, but I am going to be putting out some really fucking fun videos, horror movie related, VHS related, art stuff. Just there's no way I'm going to do 31 videos. It's too much fucking around, too much work and stuff, and I'd rather focus on making like some videos that are, there might be a bit of variety in them, you know what I mean? Some fun shit like that. So stay tuned for that stuff. I plan on doing a quick tour of the VHS tapes that are on this shelf right here. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then all across the top. I'm going to be doing a tour of that sometime throughout October, because this is going to be all changed up. Because I really want to sort of, I'm like, this is going to be like the 3rd or 4th time like this year that I'm purging out stuff again, because I was looking through it again and I'm like, okay, there's still room for stuff to get the fuck out of here that I don't need, like, that I'm probably never going to watch again, like Hitman. Like, am I ever going to watch Hitman with Chuck Norris again? I'm not the biggest Chuck Norris fanatic. I think he's all right. I'm much more of a Seagal guy. I know that could be blasphemy to some, but I grew up on Hard to Kill, Out for Justice, Marked for Death. I'm blanking on some of the other titles, but Marked for Death is probably my favorite Seagal film. Favorite Norse film, other than I think it's Return of the Dragon, but my favorite one for a long time was that one where I think it's called The Phantom and the Terror, which is where there's this guy like living in a movie theater or some shit, and he fucking kills people through the bathroom vents. It was a wild movie, but I watched that one time in a hotel when I was a kid, and I just never forgot it. So anyways, Phantasm is a must-watch. Make sure you leave a 666 in the comments. Come back, because like I said, throughout the month of October, we will be putting out, or I'll be putting out, some pretty fun videos, some art stuff. I actually just finished penciling a big piece that I'm going to be doing that is going to be a video in its own right. It involves 18 characters, and like I said, the pencils are done, inks are on the way. So leave a 666 in the comments if you want to see more. And I'll see you in the next one. Adios.